Well, hey folks, my name is Brad, and today I have hiked up way into the mountains of Vermont to an undisclosed location, and this big, bright clearing behind me is an old stone foundation from a home that used to be up here, which was abandoned sometime in the early 1900s. Now, I have no idea when the folks got here, so there's really no telling how old the stuff in the ground might be. But I brought my metal detector today, so we can find out. Now, if this is the first of my videos that you've seen, I post one of these every single Friday. So if you like what you see, consider subscribing or come on back next week. Let's get started. So for those who don't metal detect themselves, when you're moving the metal detector around, you're listening for high tones, generally. And when it makes a low tone, that's usually iron. And depending on where you are, you might pass that by. But iron that's shaped like this almost always sounds good because of the shape of it. And so I've been digging a few of these. This is just like a hitch for a post for a horse or whatever. And I'm kind of walking along this remains of a stone wall. And I'm thinking, well, there's probably going to be a lot of this stuff and barbed wire, but I'll give it a shot anyways. And I'm glad I did, because right down here is a piece of iron, and it is round. Can you tell what it is? I was digging it and I reached my hand in, I felt this, and I thought, oh, it's a big horse hitch ring. And then I kept pulling and I saw this and I said, oh my goodness, that is a stirrup. I've only ever found one. And it was very similar to this, but you know, they came in all shapes and sizes and varying degrees of being ornate. This seems to be just a very utilitarian horse stirrup. Now obviously they still have stirrups, they're still in use, but this one, it looks hand forged. A blacksmith would have been going to work on this thing with a hammer and an anvil, and the folks that used to live here would have been using this daily, more than likely. This is a great find. It should go pretty well with my other one. I think it's similar enough I can display them together, which I think should look pretty good. Old iron stirrup. You know, when metal detecting homes from like the 1920s, it's not uncommon whatsoever to find mason jar lids, the metal lids on canning jars. And usually on the inside there's this like milky white piece of glass that was used as a seal. And when I was digging this hole, it sounded great. And I found a piece of this, which is the threaded edge of a canning jar. I reached down to grab some more and I saw this. And I have never found one like this kind of clear blue glass. Usually they're that milky white, as I mentioned. And I just gave it a bit of a wipe, and it appears to have a bunch of writing on it, so we're gonna kind of clean it off together here. See what it says. Well, I thought that maybe there was going to be a name brand on here, but it is just like a dozen patent dates. Let's see, we've got December 6, 64, June 9, 63. I have to assume that's 1863, 1868, 56, 61, and on the inside there's even more. This looks like it says 1969, but I'm pretty sure that's January 19th. 1869. So that's interesting. I'm familiar with the mason jar glass lids that you would have had, you know, the bale come over and hold it down, but that's not what this is. This was like an insert, it seems like, for a metal screw top. And as I said before, I kind of attribute canning jars to like the early 1900s, but they were canning their food almost 100 years earlier than that, and it would have been a necessity on a small mountain farm like this to carry their food through the wintertime here. That's a cool find. The metal that I found in my metal detector, it's garbage, but this, found almost by accident, is very interesting, very cool. Now I just need to make sure that the jar isn't down there just full of their life savings. I'll report back if there is. Maybe I will. Alright, well, I've said in many previous videos that I really only film the digging ahead of time if the target is above 90 on my metal detector. And this one is an 89, but it sounds great. It's got to be a big piece of brass or maybe a coin, I don't know. Let's find out. We got a root. That is the reeded edge to a silver coin. It says 1 dime. So it's a US dime. Is it going to be a barber dime or a seated dime? Oh, I can already see the head of a seated Liberty up there. That's awesome. The backs of these dimes there's 2 designs that's almost identical. A much older version and a slightly newer version. This is the older version. I'm not gonna rub it. I've got my spray bottle full of water today. So we're gonna get it out and spray it off. It's like 1876. 1876. This is a bit of a surprise because usually these kind of poor farms up here in the mountains, we find coppers, big copper pennies, maybe 2 or 3 at a place like this. Very rarely silver coins. But we haven't found any small cents, any coppers today. But here's a silver dime. It does look pretty worn, so who knows how long this was in circulation before it was lost out here, but that's a great find in my book. Anytime you can find a silver coin from the 1800s is a good day, is a good week. All right, I've got a mystery find here. I know at least some of you enjoy guessing what stuff like this is. Once again, I thought it was going to be a shotgun shell, and even when I pulled it out, it somewhat has the shape of a shotgun shell that has lost its edges here, like the primer would go in here, but it doesn't appear to be hollow on this end. It just kind of looks like a flange. But judging by the bright green patina on it, I mean, this has to be over 100 years old, whatever it happens to be. What is that, a Sorry game piece? I don't know. It's very bizarre. Not sure. Doesn't appear to be any writing on it. If you happen to recognize this tiny little, end of the 1800s item, let me know, because I'm stumped. So I just had a very deep kind of mid-tone on the metal detector. And I started digging and the hole went deeper and deeper and deeper, and I was thinking, ugh, this is gonna be iron. And then I hit a rock, as you can probably see right here, and it took me a while to get this rock out, but would you believe it? Under, or maybe next to this rock, is one of my top 10 favorite things to find. Check this out. That is an old padlock with the shackle still intact. I found a bunch of these and this is missing. One other thing that has me so excited about this thing is it still has the cover for the hole. You can see right here. There's a brass keyhole. Oh my gosh, look at that. There's a piece of brass surrounding the keyhole itself, and the keyhole cover is there. Now, I'm never going to be able to get that cover to swing again, and it just happens to be in like the perfect spot to display this thing. Let's see if I can get the dirt out of here. Man, this thing is awesome. It's in pretty good shape, I suspect, because of how deep it was. This might be my favorite find of the day. Look at that beauty. Now, oftentimes there will be writing on the cover for the keyhole. No, I can't make anything out on that right now, but certainly will because it is made out of brass, so it should clean up pretty well. This thing is awesome. Look at that. Beautiful old padlock, in great shape. We'll just knock the rust off, and it'll be beautiful. Well, I'm not too far away from where I found that stirrup earlier. I've kind of circled back around a couple times, and I thought I was going to have another shotgun shell right here, but it is a little piece of brass, but I'm not sure what it is. It has a pretty interesting shape to it. Maybe you can see it down here. I haven't looked at the back yet. I don't know if there's going to be a design. Let's find out together here. Interesting. There's two little, almost like button shanks in the back. Now, I find things similar to this that were horse tack. They were on, saddles and horse hardware just to make them pretty. But usually the back is more of a rivet because it went through leather. This, because they are like button shanks, it almost leads me to believe this was somewhere else. Not necessarily worn on a person's clothing, but I don't know, I've never seen anything quite like that. Usually we call these saddle shields. Some of them are actually shaped like shields. Never seen one quite like it. Maybe there will be something on the front once we get it cleaned up. I don't know, pretty interesting. Well, I noticed this little trickle of a stream behind me. Definitely coming from a spring somewhere that way. I was thinking, the home site's right over there. Maybe they were coming down here to get water instead of digging a well. And I stumbled down here. I didn't find any targets on the metal detector, but I just saw a flash of light right here, which is a piece of glass, which is the bottom of a bottle. And then I looked up, and there's a fairly large fragment of the bottle right here. Unfortunately, it is broken. There's pieces of it everywhere, but it does appear to be old. Totally crushed, but can we read it? This bottle not. Well, that doesn't tell us a whole lot, does it? I suspect it says to be reused. I think I've seen those before. What year? I'm going to have to assume at least 100 years old, if not a little bit older. And I'm wondering if this was just tossed down here, or if maybe this was a dump. Maybe there's like a whole bunch of bottles just under the ground. I'll dig a couple test holes to find out, but I have a suspicion this was tossed here, and this roots of this big tree that's right over here on my right probably brought it up. Got a little water in it, froze, shattered. I have a very, very, very small bottle collection. Things that I've just found just like this, kind of sitting on the surface, just under the surface. And I would love to get into bottle digging, but to be quite honest, I don't know where to begin. They're all underground and you can't use a metal detector. I'm gonna check around here. If I find any more, I'll let you know. If not, I'm gonna work my way up this little spring stream. Maybe you can see behind me, this is the road, and I'm not sure if it's the old road that the folks who used to live here in this old home actually used, because there is something that kind of looks like an old road on the other side of the home. But this is certainly what the landowner uses now, and I'm walking along in the middle of the road, on the edge of the road, hoping to find something lost by travelers. And I found a lot of shotgun shells and shell casings, mostly modern, but I just found something that is not. It is a button. It's my first button of the day. Usually I find a ton of buttons, but this is my first, and it's not just the very standard flat button that we typically find. At first I thought it was a ball button, but it has kind of a unique shape to it. It's very small, and it looks like there's some gold plating around the rim. I'm hoping there's going to be something in the middle. I'm going to get my water out, and we'll spray it off together and see if there's something on there. Looks like it's actually silver plating. Is there anything in the middle? See there's no silver plating on it anymore, but there's definitely, yeah, there's definitely an eagle on this. You can see it now that it's drying out a bit. Awesome. Now that it's drying, you can definitely see it. I'm wondering if it's more of a civilian button, patriotic button. Oh yeah, definitely, look at that. It's so funny how, now that it's dried out, that white kind of clay that's down in the recesses is giving it some good contrast. And generally on the larger military buttons, there is a back mark, but I don't see anything on this one, so unfortunately I'm just gonna have to guess on the age. But judging the other things that we found today, late 1800s is my guess. That's a really cool find. All right, folks, well, that little button is going to be the end of the day for me. I walked back and forth along this old dirt road and a little bit more around this old home foundation. Haven't found anything new in the last 45 minutes, hour, and it's getting a little bit late in the day, so I'm going to start hiking out. This was a really interesting place. I didn't find a lot of the typical things I usually find. Buttons, buckles, harmonica reeds. I didn't find really any of that. Some of the coolest things I found were actually made out of iron. I'm glad I took the time to investigate those targets, because the stirrup and the padlock might be my favorite things today. I've got all the things I found today out on this log. Let's take a look. Well, I have certainly had days where I found way more stuff, but a couple of these things, like the padlock and the stirrup, that's all I found in one day. I would be more than happy. These things are great. This was more than likely hand forged, probably not too far away from where we are right now. And this, probably not going to be able to get a manufacturer off it, but if I had to guess on a date, I'd say 1880s. We have the mason jar seal. I did find a little piece of a brass buckle. It's broken. One musket ball. These are both bells. This was a little, even sounds like bells, you hear that? This was a piece of a crotal bell, and this was a Conestoga bell. This, we're going to call it a saddle shield, because I'm not sure what else it would be, but given the attachment points on the back, really could be anything. We have our mystery little flange doodad. I did find a piece of what was likely the front door. Our tiny little eagle button, though I don't believe it's military, certainly could be wrong. And then last but not least, the completely unexpected seated dime. No other coins here, not even modern coins. All in all, fantastic day. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Next Friday, I'll be posting one very similar to this. Hopefully I'll see you then.